And I kind of looked at it, how was he relating Job to business? And then this past Saturday, I could see how Job relates to business, because if you named it, everything that we were trying to do to start our family business off the ground with cows that we are raising went wrong. But then everything that came back to my mind is the scripture, if ye are prepared, you shall not fear. Just kept coming back to my mind. We were prepared. And even though we were praying to ask the Lord to help us in a one way, the Lord needed us to go another way, to ask a family to help us who needed to know that they were needed. And I, as I talked with my husband Sunday about it, it made us stop. We weren't in fear. We were prepared, but we were prepared to go and ask this family who needed to know that people in the ward did need their help. And as I see it through business, if we are prepared in business, and every business has their ups, downs, good, bad days, but when we're in tune with the Lord, he will help us make the right business decisions if we are doing everything in our power and following the commandments correctly. So that's my spiritual thought for the day.
Thank you very much.
So I'm not sure where Esteban, we just lost Danny. Oh, here he comes. He's back.
Okay.
Never mind.
All right, are we? So we're live. Beautiful. All right. Well, let's go in the opening. Today we're trying to account for failure. Took me a few minutes, by the way, to figure that out while we went into this case study, because it's the first time we ever looked at where we looked at why they failed. Anyway.
I know.
Yeah. So what was the customer value proposition? So just to review what that is a business or marketing statement that describes why a customer should buy a product or a service. It's specifically targeted towards potential customers rather than the groups that already provide the service.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was their value proposition?
They were trying.
Are those only for small ventures, or are those for like corporations too?
They're for any kind of business, as far as I know.
Yeah. If you were saying what he was,
there's like a marketing sales funnel. So it starts with like awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase. And then it has a then and a now, or a then and a now. And I guess it's supposed to help you track where your company is, like at the end, like how John was, or who are we talking about this week? John, right?
Steve Carpenter.
Okay. So yeah, like he just, I don't know, he fired a bunch of people, and like he did that, and he got to sell his company. So I just thought that was a good part, but I don't know if we're talking about that yet. So
yeah, we're not
maybe that's more for our individual case, probably, like when we write it up.
Yeah, it's
I didn't know what these were, so
yeah.
I highlighted in there where he did the initial. Oh man, I echo. Sorry, hang on. He did the initial research where he said that family. Oh, right here. Carpenter found that investors trusted families and friends the most for financial advice, and that they were not satisfied with the current industry. He saw an opportunity. He saw the opportunity to get into a business that there was profitability, hopefully.
I think his customer value proposition would have been that Cake Financial runs an all-in-one inclusive financial aid or investment aid service that you can share and where you can share your ideas and gain perspective from your larger friend group on how to invest. I mean, basically, his product is a place where you can go to see all your investment stuff at the same place. You don't have multiple websites, and where you can also see what people in your friend community, your social network community are doing, and you can base some of your decisions off of that. So you can have some kind of a collaborative play off of each other. That's
Right.
So like what value do we deliver to the customer? What value was that they delivered?
There's transparency is a key also for this, because a lot of investors feel like investment firms are only pushing the stocks that they're getting the most most return on. So transparency was a big issue. And the other issue is that, you know, he's looking into being able to track. So most of these other places only allowed you 3 months worth of history. He
wanted 7, didn't he want 7 years?
There was all the history for most of them that came back. So it was a transparency and it was a value where they were able to read through, you know, tremendous amounts of information. And also find out what everyone else is doing. I
right.
think the social, of course, we see in the case where the social was not, most of us don't want to talk about our social or our finances with our friends.
No.
And we found, of course, through the study that 40 years old and over didn't want to talk about it either. Regardless of whether you're friends or not. So the customer value proposition was to offer a transparent service that allowed you to manage your investments in one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem that they saw for the customer.
So their market plan and their technology and operation. So their market plan is they used the tech. What was the name of that tech company? That competition?
Yodel?
No.
TechCrunch 40.
TechCrunch 40.
Oh, they went to the, but didn't TechCrunch 40, I felt TechCrunch 40 kind of hurt them.
It did, and I think it's also important to recognize here that they were pushing 2 years that they had been operational before they even put any MVP out there.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a key error on their part. But they did have a lot of value for the TechCrunch, because even though Mint.com won over them, it created enough interest where it sent quite a few people
to their site.
Financial. But that's when they discovered that they didn't spend enough time on the front end.
Right.
Looks are everything. And what's funny about this is that Mint sold, what was it, 170 million? I would consider that a successful company to sell for that kind of money.
Yeah.
They had crappy back end, but high end front end. You know, so apparently Americans are all about the look. We don't care who performs. We just want to look good doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and we care about the look on the front end of things, but also, but we also want it to be simplified, which is part of what the look is. If it looks like it's confusing, even if it's not, if it looks confusing, you're going to turn off Americans, especially those who are of an age who have significant investments to be able to look at. You're at an older demographic of the society.
To be honest, for me to get on a site and try to figure that out, no, thank you, because I'm not.
I guess you have to diversify your portfolio to get the most per dollar you invest, on return. I guess that's going to help out people that are making more money.
But I'm not sure that that's what we're
not the average person.
No, in the market plan, in the end, they did state that they did not. Oh, I highlighted it because I wanted to.
Tell me where you're at, Laura. What page?
Hang on, give me a second. right at the bottom of a page where he said specifically they did not pay attention to the customer.
Oh, yeah, that was a problem. And we also found that 60% of women did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
60%, I get confused on all the numbers I look at, but they weren't capturing the women. And women
No.
we like it simple and we like it effective.
Well, and
Simple.
then they
Simple, quick, and easy.
said when they were finishing out the end of Cake 3.0, when they're launching that last round out, it says that they found out, but around that time they find out that the social networking aspect of their model is useless because men are the predominant investors and they're not as viral as they thought. And I was sitting there thinking, how is it possible that you've made it through how many years of this and you're just now realizing on your third version that the social networking model isn't working?
Isn't working.
My husband does, I'll be honest, my husband does not social network. Guess who does it in the family? Me.
Well,
Absolutely.
Statistically speaking, no social networking works to sell.
No.
Yeah.
89% of Americans, anyway, will
I
take
don't
the
invest, so I
control
wouldn't
of
take
a
advice
friend.
from someone that doesn't. So I hope they would have invested, themselves before they created something. But I don't know if they did or not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to cash flow formula.
Okay.
All right. So are we done with technology and operation strategy? I think I did that before we did the market.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Cash flow formula. Tell me what everyone did.
They based their thing, they based 43% of their revenue streams on subscription, 21% on advertising, and 36% on data licensing and fund fees. And I thought where they screwed up on that was being so heavy on data licensing.
What page are you on?
That's on page 3.
3.
Page 3.
At the top of the first paragraph, and the bottom of the first paragraph. And I thought where they screwed that up was that's relying completely and totally before you've tested your product. 36% of your revenue stream is based on based on other financial people licensing your data. You don't even know if they want your data yet. You don't have any data yet.
You got that off in Exhibit 3, didn't you? That's where I was looking.
Yeah, you have it on Exhibit 3 as well as page 3 is where it talks about that.
Okay,
And so I thought that was kind of screwy. I thought they should have had more money going into advertising as well, especially if they're putting it together at this point as a social network. Advertising is a big part of your money, not necessarily your data licensing. They don't have data to license. They're going to get
they don't.
from other people. So why do other people want to license the data that they're buying from them?
So how are we separating out advertising and marketing here? Because there's a huge disparity in costs there.
Yes.
So how are they on page 3 you indicated, how are they identifying the difference between advertising and marketing?
So I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, but it said that their first revenue is advertising, lead generation, and sponsorship fees that would be paid by brokerage firms and financial information providers.
Right, so we see that in revenue up on exhibit, we see that, but down here,
Right.
the cost of service, so this is what it costs them to capture that revenue. Okay, I get it. And then the marketing is what they spent to further, let me just write that down, to further the company.
Right.
Where do we get the marketing fee?
So on page 16, under cost of goods, COGS. So
Okay,
cost of goods,
I was looking at page 16 and page 3, and I'm reading. I'm like, okay, my numbers aren't matching up. They didn't talk about it in the written part.
Yeah, I didn't see the same in there.
Yeah, I think marketing is more they're putting it out, going to conventions, just trying to bring people to the site itself. Advertising, that revenue stream is like Fidelity putting on an advertisement on Cake's website.
Right. So for the
Okay.
calculations in your submission, what did you do?
Say again?
For the calculations part of the submission, what did you do?
Haven't done that part yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide what I want to do for that also. I mean, we can look at.
I haven't been able to.
What I was working on, I'll tell you real quick, I was working on finding out what they had spent in seed money to begin with. Like how much he went, you know, he got from friends and family, an angel investor, then he had a Series A financing, then he had a term sheet financing. But for what he was spending, he was too far in the hole.
Well, he was bringing money in, so it appears as though we actually had revenue coming in during this time.
Yes, we did.
So you have to make sure that we put in what he brought in for investment, and then income versus outgo, which I think we've got two. We've got Exhibit 3, and then there's a second. The second one, I thought, wasn't there?
No, I couldn't find the second one unless I was looking at it wrong.
Page 27
Hang on.
has got some. Doesn't really have. They're more funnel. It's called funnel metrics. So it's not really money, but if we can figure out what an average customer brought in.
Didn't he say later on the average person, it was a $99 a month or $99 a year?
That was Dropbox.
No, that was in this one.
It's in this one as well, but I think that was after they launched Cake 3.0.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what it was for the first two.
Yeah, okay, it was Cake 3.0.
Yeah, that's on page
No.
9 on the third paragraph down. It talks about a $99 per year premium service.
But they
Their August 2009 product release, so they've been launched for quite a while. They've been launched for over 2 years before they get that point.
So yeah, 2.5 years.
right.
So what was their subscription fee before that? We don't know.
Well, I got dinged, if you will, because I didn't put in when they say that we need to do some kind of math, correct?
I got dinged on the first one because I forgot a math. I didn't do a detailed math formula.
Well, I did, but I didn't do the one he felt I should have.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, which kind of bothered me, and I told him so. I said, it doesn't direct us to do what,
If he wants us to do a specific math problem, then tell us what math problem you want.
Well, yeah, if you want evaluation of the company, enough said. But there's so many different possibilities. For
Right.
me, what would matter is how much it's costing to capture a customer.
Well, and I did the evaluation. I did that part, but I didn't evaluate high enough, so I got dinged because I said it was worth like $5 million, and he says, no, it's actually worth $20 million.
Yeah.
How is it worth that much
That's
money?
what I said too. I said, there's no way that company was worth that. And then
he's like, well, if you do their projections based on a 4-year increase, I'm like, you have no history to prove that off of.
Exactly.
Like, you can't just say, oh, well, our next 4 years of projections are this. I had a really hard time with that, but.
Okay, so I when I got dinged, let's just say I wasn't happy with the B I got.
Well, he's not actually going to be doing them anymore, by the way. He's got a TA who's doing them. So.
No, he's still doing some of them.
Well, he might be, but he indicated to me that the reason he hadn't, because I said, I'd like you to go ahead and get these, before we submit the second one, I'd like to know what I got on the first one so I can adjust.
Right.
And so he indicated that he'll do the first, but all others will be done by whoever he's training. Anyway.
So did anybody get a grade on Dropbox yet?
I don't remember. The first one I've got a grade, but that's.
I got a grade on the first one, and I didn't get that grade in until after I was finishing my second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Annoying.
hopefully this week we'll start to. Okay, so number 4, after your group has recreated the business model, vote. Was Cake doomed from the beginning, or was it a promising business model? So here we come back into the black and white.
Okay.
You know, I think it was a promising, it could have been a promising business had it done, you know, some massive pivots, which is why I think it was doomed from the beginning. What about you, Eamon?
I think it's a promising business idea, and I think it was a doomed business because of the way he managed it from the start.
It is, but we know that through the social media, you know, but the interface still provided it. Laura, what do you think? Doomed or possible?
To me, it was doomed from the get-go because he did not get the Tony's guy up front.
Yeah.
They, what do they call it? Crumb. Where Tony made the average 49-year-old man.
Yeah, they didn't have the MVP figured out.
They didn't have any of that figured out.
Uh-oh.
Danny, what do you think?
I think he was right in having the advisory board.
Well, that's a smart key decision at the beginning of any company. Danny, what's your vote on this? Was he doomed or not? All right, he may have stepped away. All right, let's look at number 5. To understand what if anything could have done.
Oh, what question was that? I was muted.
Sorry, number 4.
Oh, okay.
Was he doomed from the start, or was it a promising business?
My thoughts are that he kind of saw he was doomed as he got into it. But he kind of stuck with it. And like I was saying earlier, he ended up selling the company, but he had to reduce like employees, and that was a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he knew he was getting into something, but he just kept with it.
Well, I think that he didn't realize until the end it was doomed. I think that he really thought he had something viable, because it wasn't until, was it 2.0 where he actually realized he needed to start focusing on the front end?
Yeah, because didn't he say the revenue?
Right, but understand that if it was at 2.0, we're now 2 years into this gig, and he's, of course, financially in deep.
Two years into it, he's over, let's see, 2.8 mil. He's over almost $4 million into this, and asking for investments, and they're not seeing a return.
Yeah, I think that if he could have gotten more money, I think he could have pivoted, turned this around. But I think, and one of the questions it asked in the prep was he right was it the right time to sell? And my feeling is that when you got nowhere else to go, then it's the right time to sell.
Yeah.
He didn't have a choice when he got to sell, because the market, I mean, everybody was upside down.
Well, the hard part, I mean, he couldn't guess the recession was going to come through, which hurt bad.
Right.
But when you're in a recession, the people that actually, your best chance of maintaining a business is with a startup, not with the existing business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think the recession had it to do, and I'm not sure if he'd had enough money that he still would have been able to pivot. I'm going to jump down to question 6, and I can come back to it later. I think his biggest problem is that he was too heavy of a company. He hired 16 engineers, 5 other people. They were so heavy. He says that after they launched 1.0, that they're too large of an engineering organization to make changes on the fly.
Well, I don't think that had to do with staffing as much as the level of complexity that was involved in doing it.
Sure, yeah. And I think that's true, although it does say that when he starts looking at doing some changes,
everybody got antsy.
Yep, everyone started said that the engineers, everyone was wedded to our original solution, and deeply troubled by uncertainty. They had a hard time making that pivot. And
Yeah.
later it says when they only had 6 engineers, they were able to make changes a lot easier, and they had more fun and they had more success at the end of the business than at the beginning.
I think that
But-
one of the issues that they had when we talk about making the pivot, that's where leadership comes in, because all production staff have issues with change.
But there
Yes.
is no, but when you look at it, all the structure of the company, there is not one person that had that leadership capability.
Well,
Right.
least of all him.
Huh?
I also think least of all him, but
Yeah.
I think that when you get down to when you had just the remaining staff, I think at that point, everyone else had been let go. You'd be surprised at how much that adjusts people's attitude.
Yeah.
When 10 people are fired, over 50%, 60% of the group is fired. But they also know that it was ending, and I think that also took some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, but being someone, I own a tech company.
Oh, did you guys not hear me? Oh,
No.
okay. It was muted. I said I like the build buddy buy concept. So he built the company, and he had his buddies from like other companies, and so and then he actually had them buy the company. Even though he failed, he still brought other people with him, which is what you do in any business as an entrepreneur. You want to have a mentor. I had a mentor in Rexburg, but I left Rexburg. He was going to fund me a company. He was an angel investor, but I left. And so that, all that's null and void. So he actually had angel investors, and VCs and everything. So, I mean, he was pretty successful. So he didn't really actually fail. I wouldn't say, being the protagonist, I wouldn't say I failed if I was him. I actually sold, even though you're not going into, something to make a lot of money. But
Well, he sold it for pennies on the dollar. I mean, when we look at Mint.com, they sold for 170 million. That's a profit. At this point, I mean, the impression I'm getting here is that he pretty much sold to cover costs.
Yeah. If he had sold right after the TechCrunch 40, he might have been able to make more money on it. But by the time he sells this, all the major financial institutions are going under, although Mint.com sold in the middle of the recession and did just fine.
Right.
It seems like he sold. So, I mean, he got something out of it. It wasn't a complete bust, but I'm not sure I would classify it as being particularly successful when you.
No.
I wonder if he could have pivoted in a way that made him the back end for everybody else. So he worked with the end user.
Say that again. You broke up when you said that.
So if he pivoted, and instead of providing this service to the end user like me, if he provided this service to Mint.com and to all the other companies out there that provided similar services, I can't help it because it's a tremendous back end.
we would have had to collect a lot of data. I don't know. That's a lot of work. It's a good company though.
All right, number 5. Discuss Stephen's approach to the opportunity. Try to understand what, if anything, Stephen could have done differently that may have produced a better outcome. Okay, on page 3, page 3, his quote. That's what this is right here. Let's read that real quick.
In retrospect?
Yeah.
Oh, me? In retrospect, I'm not sure that these early focus groups were very helpful. They validated our high-level concept, but we did not seek feedback on a specific product. I've learned that focus groups for technical products can be unreliable because people can't always say what they want until they can actually see it and play around with it. We would have learned more by building a lightweight product and watching how investors used it. We also didn't get much sense of user segmentation from our early focus groups. Later, we learned that there are important but subtle differences between active investors who track their portfolios daily and Main Street investors who pay less attention.
I gotta say, if I think that they did one thing wrong, I would say not having an MVP is it. I mean, if we had to just bring it down to one item, because I believe they would have gotten more money with an MVP, which
Yeah.
may have, I mean, that's one of the things he talks about in the case study is, should he have gotten more money, you know, in like PayPal or you know, and really gone whole hog. I don't think he could get the money because he didn't have a track record and he didn't have the MVP up front. Any other comments on that? On retrospect, which by the way is a gift. Retrospect would be a gift if we had it up front.
Yes.
I agree completely with what you said. And when you see it, I mean, the second paragraph, he says, there's no way that with interviews and focus groups, you could have made this work.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
just not true. Think of how Dropbox operated. Now, this is probably more complex than Dropbox, but if they could have done just a small prototype, just a small sliver of the idea, and shown that to their, created an MVP sometime in those first 2 years before you launch the whole thing and you don't have any feedback on if it's going to work or not. I wish they had made some kind of an MVP so they could have gotten some kind of feedback from consumers before they decide to go all in on it.
And creating an upfront is nothing, especially compared to what they were doing on the
Yeah.
back end.
Yeah. I mean, they had the idea. I think the investors saw, because I mean, who's going to give you? I mean, the beginning of the following year, you get 2.8 million. The initial investors saw that this could work.
Yeah, I think it helped them learn, you know, like, but not as much as the runway where they had the learn build with the. There's I forgot the book that I read, but there's a book about that too. But yeah, I know what you guys are talking about. Like, people don't want to use something if it's not favorable. If like their friends aren't going to use it, they're not going to use it. So.
Well, but there was an assumption. There was an inappropriate assumption here. I mean, when we get right down to the bottom line, when we look at our hypothesis here, the inappropriate assumption here is that people feel their finances are social.
That's wrong.
I don't even know what reality that could have been right. I mean, so when we talk about the business and the A's and the B's and the C's and connecting the dots, the MVP was where they made the mistake. But their initial assumption that everyone is going to want to socialize about this was wrong.
Yeah, whiff and a miss. And I don't know, maybe in the circles he went in and hiring up in business, they like talking about how much money they make in their investments. But the average person, those conversations are no-goes. You don't ask that question. You don't offer that information.
Because what is the first thing that we all teach? Like we've taught our children. We do not talk about how much money your father made. You know, it's nobody's business on how much money you make.
A lot of entitlement stuff goes. I mean, I see it with my brother. My mother's in the mid six figures. She's a chief of anesthesia, and you know, the first time he found out how much money she made, it was like he focused on her in a whole new way. We don't talk about it. And you know, really, as far as my parents want to know, do you have needs?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have food, you need to come to me. But if you need
Right.
attention, you're on your own.
Yep.
So
That's how it is with us too. I mean, and I'm going into a family business, and even there, it's when we were talking about whether or not the business could support 2 people, that was probably one of the most awkward conversations I've ever had with my dad. It's like,
Oh,
I don't want to talk about how much money you make. That's not any of my business. And, you know, we do have kind of
No, that's fine. Go for it. Go for it. That's fine. No.
Talking to us? Go on, Emma, you were saying about your dad.
you were saying?
well, just that,
I know that's a terrible thing for you, but in your situation, it's like you couldn't avoid that
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, it had to happen. But, you know, so I look at that assumption, and it really is wrong. You know, when I was growing up, my dad said, it doesn't matter how much someone makes, we're all equals. We need to talk about money. You never treat someone like they're better than you or worse than you, depending on how much money they make. None of that matters. You're their equal.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I've always based everything. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter. Financial matters matter. There is insignificant to the value of a person as much as a race or ethnicity or religious creed. All of it's
Right.
just, you don't need any of it people have value. They're equals on the basis that they're a human being.
And Aaron, I agree with you on that one. And my daughter we as a family last week, when I told you guys my daughter's phone the kid reached right in her bag as she got up from her desk to go to the teacher and took the phone and with the intent to sell it. And the school was going to do nothing about it. And there were some other incidents that happened on Friday too. And when you say you never discuss finance, it doesn't. We actually had to, and then this is sad to say, I would never thought I would have to do this. Play the game of money. I wouldn't even know how to. We had to become members of sports boosters because my daughter runs cross country, and everybody knows booster clubs are always there to support the football team.
Hold on.
You there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And we had to play support. It just, long story short, just because we watch our money very tightly. We save. We have sufficient for our needs, and if we have to help somebody, we can now and then help. But we had to play a money game for the very first time, and do you know how sick it made me? That where you had to say, I got to play this game.
Book of Mormon times, people.
Oh.
It is. Okay, so real quick, let's go ahead. Let's start to wrap this up here. Was
Yep.
building the data layer the first the right approach? And remember on page 2, the last paragraph, it said the bottom was data aggregation. So that was the first thing that they did for their 2 layers. So the question is building this layer first, was that the right approach?
What did you say?
Was building the data layer first the right approach?
What question is this?
So this is, can you see my screen?
No, it's not up.
Ammon, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, so the question is the first thing that Cake did was build a data layer. And the question is was that the right approach? Meaning, first thing they did is create a system to grab data.
Yeah, I see it worked out for them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, it's not my major. I'm not software major. I don't really know a lot about that, but I mean, hopefully he had someone, that said that was a good idea. Because I wouldn't.
Did you say yes or no to the question?
He said yes, he thought it was a good idea. What about you, Laura? What do you think?
I say yes because you had to somehow you everything had to fit. You had to make it work. But then I can say no too.
What about you, Ammon? What do you think?
No. I think they should have done the user interface layer first and presented that as presented that with their ideas for the minimal viable product, and they could have been building the data layers behind it.
I definitely agree with you there. But however, without the data layer, you can't really have the front end work, which is where I feel like the partnership should have started out with Yodel.
Yeah.
And then come in behind it. So they needed to have something they could make money on fast. And then build it up. And then take Yodel's business.
Did they ever say anywhere in it how much money they made in the first 2 years?
Yeah, we've got that back on Exhibit 3. Does anyone know where the page is where he talks about Yodel? I gotta know what that name is.
Okay, I got it. It is on 2, 3, page 4.
Yodlee, it's on page 4.
4.
Where's it at?
Yodlee.
First,
got it.
Got right there.
Got it. So I think he should
That's a stupid name.
Yeah, he should have partnered with Yodlee, then got his MVP together, and then use that money. I am so anti-investment. Because
I know.
every time you bring somebody in, they take a piece of your company.
Yeah.
After I read it, and I was like, why didn't he go with them to begin? Like we've said, why didn't he go with them, figure out how to partner with them? And then he could have showed the front end after continuing on building the data layers after that. And I think he would have been successful.
All right, so let's go ahead, and I think that we've hashed 6.
Yeah.
I think we've hashed 6. So let's go ahead and do the summary. And then, does someone want to offer the summary? I'm happy to do it. Does someone else want to offer it? Beautiful.
What's that?
So at the end of, Danny, at the end of every video that we do the summary. And what happens is the instructor will actually go to the summary and just find out how we felt. So instead of listening to or watching an hour video every week, he'll just watch our 3-minute summary.
Oh,
and so what will happen is that when you go into your system, actually I'll do it after the summary, but I will show you how you need to post that.
per group one summary, or everyone has their own?
Well, no, one, but what will happen is that Ammon will email it out. You do your post discussion. In it, it's going to ask for the link to this video, and then it won't ask, but you have to put in there where the summary starts.
Oh, then so you're gonna post your own, and then I'm gonna post my own, and so on, right?
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. For our summary, we should probably identify who's here. I'm Kristen Winterhold.
Danny Carmona.
Yep, Danny here, Laura. So we decided that from the beginning. We decided that it was primarily because of a lack of education. Hey guys, would someone mute there's a lot of people. We gotta mute it. Thank you. So we felt that it was doomed for 2 primary reasons. First of all, it didn't have a viable product, an MVP, to show customers how it worked and investors. But I think the biggest issue, we decided the biggest issue that they had is that they made an assumption that finances was a social thing for people. So their assumption was not right, and their MVP didn't exist early enough in this process. his approach to the opportunity. In here, he says that in retrospect, I'm not sure that the early focus groups were very helpful. We felt that they would have been much more helpful had he done them earlier in. So instead of waiting till about 2 years in, if he'd have done them much earlier and had an MVP for them to actually look at. List of ways. Let's see. So let's, we're going to go to this question right here. Was building the data layer the first right approach? Two of us thought it was the way to go because we needed some kind of a basis for them to work off of. And two of us felt that the way to do this would have been to partnered with Yodel and create a front end that was really appealing, and then build the data layer as we progressed. I think that would have given that, we think that that may have given the company a better footing moving forward. So was the failure beyond Stephen's control? I think that we agreed that it was, the failure hadn't happened because of a lot of the decisions that were made and the timing that they were made. And what low-cost experiment could Stephen have done to test the assumptions? He could have actually partnered with Yodel, created an opening, you know, a front end, and moved forward and found out really what the customer wanted. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
Sounds good to me.
Laura?
Okay, hang on.
All right, how about you, Dan?
No, I'm all right. I'm fine. Yeah.
Beautiful. All
That
right,
sounds good to me.
let's end it.